Sign is for the overall site identification variance will not be contrary to public interest. Special conditions, site is 13-story building, virtually no upper story signage is recognition from nearby street. The little enforcement of the provisions of the chapter will result in unnecessary hardship, and spirit of the chapter will be observed. Substantial justice done to the applicant and surrounding neighborhood. Therefore, the applicant is recommended for approval, subject to the following conditions: obtaining approval for the proposed sign by the Consolidated Review Committee, obtaining a sign permit for the proposed sign, in full compliance with all their municipal codes and ordinances. Okay, Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And you're on the agenda a lot today, it looks like. Let me see if you're on the next one. Yep. 6108-5414, Ryco Signs for Pottery Barn.
Yes.
We got to go through the
Wade
process.
Wright, Ryco Signs, 3345 Halls Mill Road.
Okay, now this one's not so easy. It's recommended for denial. You want
And
to tell
we-
us why we ought to consider otherwise?
Well, I would like to ask if we can hold over this one, and I know I'm jumping ahead, the next one. These two companies are in fact one in the same corporation. There was a little confusion on the application and what the city looked at as to which was what. So there's some cross confusion there. I just think it'd be best to back up, get it straight with staff, and next month we'll be prepared.
Okay. Anyone in the audience in favor of this application? And I think the other one's, this is Potty Barn. What was the other one?
Williams Sonoma, which is next
Williams
door.
Sonoma.
Right.
Anyone in opposition here today? Okay, the applicant's rep is requesting a holdover for those two. 30 days sufficient?
Yes.
Okay.
Move
Sure.
for a 30-day holdover, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion for a holdover. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's for both applications?
That's for both?
Yes.
All right. See y'all next month. Thank you.
Okay. That was application 6109, 6108, 5414 as the second. All right, we're at, application 6110, 3467, 2957, 2436, 548. David Dominique? You'll have to help me with that one.
Domain.
Dominique.
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually is not here. He's in the, having a heart catheterization. So I'm David White. I'm the Nubo on Dolphin, the tenant. Yeah.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming in their absence. This one is also recommended for denial. Can you tell us why we ought to consider otherwise?
Actually, yeah, I'm a little confused for the fact that, when, I went down to the city and whatever, we put it's a security fence, and we had put brand-new 4 air conditioner units when we redid the property. And, so we put them in on Monday, and by Thursday, all 4 units, the copper was stolen, all the Freon had done whatever, so we put up a security fence around the air conditioners. You know, according to the scene here, it says I put up barbed wire. The barbed wire and the chain link fence had been there from the previous owner, and it had been up there probably for 10 years. So as far as the barbed wire, it should actually go to Fred Killian Sr. I did not put up the barbed wire, but I did talk to the city, and we took the barbed wire down because I wasn't aware that the barbed wire wasn't accepted. So right now, we came in with a security fence right down beside the chain link fence to protect the air conditioner and the investment that I had, because after the robbery, it was like $3,200 to repair it within a 4-day period. There is no blockage from anywhere on the corner. The house sits closer to the road than it actually should be, but you can't move the house, whatever. There's no way I can move the fence. The air conditioners were placed there and have been there, you know. So I said, as far as pulling out of the parking lot, pulling onto Florida Street, pulling on the Dolphin Street, you can see the pictures, there are no obstructions at all. So I guess that's why I'm pleading the case, the fact that it's more of a security purpose for Nuvo and Dolphin than anything else.
Do y'all have pictures before
I
y'all?
just found it.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
sent pictures in. Like I said, the barbed wire and the chain link fence have been there for years. The city should have given that to Fred Killian, not David White, you know.
So the chain link was there,
The chain, we left that there, but we took the barbed wire down.
and then you
Yeah.
put up the wood fence?
We did, the
Okay.
security fence. And once again, Mr. Keegan had said that he had 4 incidents where they had stole the copper from his units. And so when we bought the property 2 years ago, we had to go in and put all new units in because all the guts were gone inside the units, whatever. So it's more of a security issue for us than anything, you know. And we will paint it and make it blend in with the house and all that, but I didn't want to do that until we got the approval from you guys, you know.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant by the board? Can you give us a second to
Oh, sure,
pass around the,
absolutely.
we have a question.
I have
Mr.
one
Bowman?
question. Did you say you'd taken the barbed wire down?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, absolutely. When Mr. Olson had told me, I had no idea, so we took it down that day.
And so are
Yeah.
you requesting to put it back up?
Do I?
Are you requesting to put it back
Oh,
up?
no, 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 no,
Or you
no, no,
content
no.
with just-
The security fence is perfect for us. What it works in my mind is out of sight, out of mind. The people come down Florida Street quite often, whatever, so they don't see the units. And I actually I told Mr. Olson that I had put a security camera over there for the fact that just in case they did get into it, I could see how they were doing it, because I said I didn't know what was going on. So we did put the security fence and a security camera to try to protect our interests.
Well, and that's just a clarification, because your variance does ask for the barbed wire, but you're no longer asking?
No barbed wire at all. In the pictures, you can see, the one I submitted, we took the barbed wire down before we even,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I have a question. Is the facility monitored by a security system?
Actually, it has a in-house system that tapes 24 hours and relaps itself.
So there's not any kind of system that calls a monitoring service?
No, sir.
Okay. Because I've seen on some of these facilities, they put a sensor on them if there's any motion in the units.
Yeah, these cameras just run 24/7 and just loop. And we have all the recording stuff up in the office upstairs.
Okay, now that they've had an opportunity to look at the pictures, any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
Did you
Metcalf?
say that you're going to paint the fence?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The reason I stopped, because I was thinking if I had to tear it down, then I didn't want to waste the money already again. But my main thing is to blend it in with the house so you won't even notice it.
You're not going to paint it green like your front door,
Oh,
are you?
no. The green doors are for you two to see it. I don't want you to see the fence. So it'd actually be painted gray
wanna
that
see the
blends right
green
into the
door.
house. So the main thing is it's not an eyesore, or people don't even know that the AC units are behind there.
Okay, any further questions of the board for the applicant? In looking at this, I don't see any other property within this area that has a fence that's within the setback. It's the only thing that, are you aware of any? That are within, the-
Actually, there are several citations you could see down the street, but I didn't take pictures. I didn't want to, with barbed wire and everything else, but that's none of my business. That's more the city. You know, I didn't want to point fingers at anybody else. I was just trying to, you know.
okay. All right, once again, any questions? Anyone in the audience in favor of the application? Anyone in opposition today? How long has the fence been up now?
We put the fence up we bought the property in 2015, and it took us 18 months to get into it, so probably less than 8 months.
So the
Yeah.
fence has been up 8 months? Okay.
Yeah.
How did this come to the city's attention?
I believe it came to the city's attention when they were having final inspections for their building permits. When the zoning inspector went out, they noticed the fence was exceeding the height in the setback without permits.
Okay.
And also, that's when they noticed the barbed wire, and they told me about it, so that's when I knew to take it down.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So we're only looking at the height and the setback, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, from my understanding and reading your narrative, the deputy director of the planning, zoning, or the chief of police could, that's only regarding the barbed wire, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Can they give authorization on any other security, what they would call a security fence?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, discussion of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
move for approval.
Any conditions?
No.
After-fact permits or? Okay, I have a motion without any conditions, a second?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to the next application. 6111, 5745, 85, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. It's at 2600 Government Boulevard. Your name, sir?
Bobby McBride, Rowe Engineering, representing the client here. We're aware of the staff recommendation for holdover. We're prepared to resubmit a more detailed site plan by the date asked and come back to present this next month.
Okay, and you think next month you'll have ample time?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay, any questions of the board? Anyone in the audience in favor? Anyone in opposition of this application? It's recommended for a holdover until the July 10th meeting. All right, Chair, entertain a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
question, is this the same property that we have dealt with previously on, for a car lot?
It is the same site that a variance has been granted a previous approval for. However, the currently submitted site plan did not have the level of detail that the previously approved site plan had. That's why staff is recommending the holdover to have that information.
But did the previous, was the previous application or the previous approval, was it ever acted upon?
No, sir, it was not. It was allowed to expire.
It expired, okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay. Once again, Chair, entertain a motion.
Move to hold over.
Have a motion to hold over, have a second? Who provided the second? Okay, Ms. Coleman. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, application 6112, 6098, 6001, Anchor Signs. Your name and address, sir?
Mike Cohen, 323 Riverland Drive, Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay, have you or your client seen this
Yes, sir.
and agree with staff's recommendation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, staff recommends, based on the fact the subject unit is in an outbuilding and faces both a public street and a large parking lot, the variance will not be contrary to public interest. These special conditions. The site is an outbuilding separate from the main shopping center. Shopping center building and vehicular visibility is necessary for recognition exists such that little enforcement of the provision of the chapter will result in unnecessary hardship. The spirit of the chapter will be observed and substantial justice done to the applicant and the surrounding neighborhood by granting a variance in that the subject business would be afforded adequate signage, exposure, and identity along both a public street and an expensive parking lot. It's recommended for approval, subject to sign permits for both signs, full compliance with all other municipal codes and ordinances. Okay, anyone in the audience here in favor? Anyone in opposition today? Okay, once again, staff's recommending approval, I should say, subject to those conditions. Chair, entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Have a recommended approval, subject staff recommendation.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, application 6114, 5895, 5795, 5726, New Hope Baptist Church. And we've seen this one before.
Yep.
Just a few times.
Yeah.
Mark Wattier with Wattier Surveying, representing New Hope Baptist Church, 4321 Downtowner Loop North. The application's recommended for approval, and we're in agreement with all the conditions.
Okay. I'll go through them just as a matter of record. Based on the fact this same request has been granted to the applicant 3 times previously, the variance would not be contrary to public interest. These special conditions, lack of sufficient area to plant overstory trees with close proximity to the building exists such that the law enforcement provisions of the chapter will result in unnecessary hardship, and the spirit of the chapter shall be observed and substantial justice done to the applicant and the surrounding neighborhood by granting the variance, and that all other tree planting requirements will be met, and total number of required trees planted will still be met. Therefore, the application is recommended for approval, subject to the following conditions: coordination with urban forestry, revision of the site plan that specify live oak trees as heritage trees along Live Oak Street, Pecan Street, Persimmon Street due to the presence of overhead power lines. Submittal of 3 copies of revised site plans required, showing all the submittal plans, and full compliance with all municipal codes and ordinances. All right, anyone here in favor or in opposition today? Okay, it's recommended for approval. Hopefully, we can get this one off our future agendas.
Yes.
I think I remember, what, 3 times now? 4
Yeah,
times?
and it's been, it's expired each time due to delays in construction. So the church
Okay.
is ready, as soon as we can get all these permits, they're ready to get that parking lot built and get the landscaping in, so
Okay.
hopefully we'll get this one going.
Any questions of the board for the applicant's rep? All right, Chair, entertain a motion. Staff recommends approval subject to the conditions I read. As chair, I'll make recommendations for approval. Hopefully, this will be my last one.
All right.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, 6115, 5957, signs now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, names and addresses for the
Mark
record.
Dunn with signs now, 25325 Highway 98, Daphne.
Your name,
Randy
sir?
Anderson with Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road.
Okay, this one is also recommended for holdover, so that you could provide some information regarding the new pylon signs and submission of a detailed narrative explaining what other differences exist between the existing signs and the proposed signs. Have you seen that? Did you know it was recommended for holdover?
Did not know
Okay.
that.
It appears that the staff needs more information, is what I
We got some
gather.
information. I thought if we could provide that. There's no change in the size.
Okay, well, if you would prefer we go through with the hearing, or I mean, the application, we will.
What do you think is best for us? But there's no change in the size. Height-wise, slightly thinner, and LED lights is all. And
Okay.
redoing the fascia basically.
Have you
is all.
provided a set of details to staff with all that information?
Well, we had the original drawings,
Nothing's changed from the original drawings?
not that I know of.
Okay. Staff, is there anything that we're missing?
Just the facial, the face of the board, looks the same.
Exactly. Height, the width of it is a little bit narrower than it was before. Or the thickness of the
The
sign.
thickness, yeah, it's just gonna be a little sleeker than the existing.
I think the primary reason we held it over was because we needed information about the size of the proposed signs compared to the existing signs, as well as staff was wanting some information, I believe, on if this was a national signage standard that's being required of the applicant, or if this is just a desire of the applicant to have the additional signage.
Okay.
National, this is Toyota's national sign program for both signs.
Okay. All right. Board, would you prefer we proceed with this one, or that we hold it over? I mean, I think it's subject to the board's decision. The staff obviously prefers more information.
That's up to the board. Staff is okay with y'all voting on it today. If I mean, these signs were existing prior to annexation, so they're non-conforming. They're wanting to replace them, so that's why they're here before the board today for the variance.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a little bit of advice from previous. The last one we had that was from, I shouldn't say last one, we had one earlier after the annexation. I think it was Golden Corral, that was denied for a very similar reason. So they wanted to change it, bring it up to standard. Yeah. And it was non-conforming at the time. So if you want to try to work out the details with staff before we consider this, it may be,
Staff says go ahead.
okay,
It just doesn't work out. The sign's the same size.
okay. All right, well, we can proceed
There's
then.
nothing to work out against them.
Yeah.
It's up to y'all.
All right, well, we'll proceed. All right, well, your variance is to allow 2 freestanding signs for a business on a single site in a B3 community business district. Zoning ordinance would require 1 freestanding sign for a single business site in a B3 community business. The narrative said it was for safety reasons that you're requesting 2. Why would it's on one frontage street, so why would it be necessary to have 2 signs?
We were really just talking about, because one's at one entrance and one's at the other entrance. It's not so much about the safety issues, it's really just the entrances. One kind of designates one entrance to the used cars, while the other one is a little bit farther north for the new cars.
Right.
But it's really the Toyota dealership that wants the signs that.
Because the existing signs have different products listed than what?
Yes, sir. One's the new car pylon and one's the used certified.
Okay. All right, any questions of the board for the applicant's reps?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
did we not approve another sign package on this recently for the building itself?
There was a variance for additional wall signage at this location,
Like
yes,
for
sir.
body shop and things of that,
Yes, sir.
service or something?
We did the new,
Come to the
coated metal on the front, and we just replaced the signs that were there previously with the same project, but the road signs had not been addressed yet.
Staff, are the pylon signs, in addition to them being, having 2 where only 1 would be allowed, how about the height?
The proposed height does meet regulation standards.
So the existing sign meets the height standard?
Yes, sir.
So
that's
all we're
correct.
dealing with is that it's an extra sign?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions of the board for the applicant?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Burrows, you have a question? Any further questions? All right, anyone in the audience in favor of the application wishes to speak at this time? Anyone in opposition? Okay. All right, the applicant's has requested that we go ahead and consider this application at this time. Staff's recommendation was for holdover. However, as Mr. Metcalf said, we just recently looked at a previous application for this particular location. I don't remember any specifics to that one. Was I even here?
It
on
was
that one?
wall signs and informational signs, if I'm not mistaken. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman.
It was wall signs that were larger than 20 square feet and thus were not able to be exempted from sign regulation
Okay, was
requirements.
the applicant given a variance for those?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, it was granted.
Okay. So they've had one previous variance for non-conforming, and now they're asking for a second for this pair of pylons.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, no further questions or comments from the board? Chair, entertain a motion? Mr. Burrows?
Mr. Metcalf, you made on that last one, you made a recommendation of what they could do to comply. Do you understand what I'm saying?
On
In
the
other
la,
words,
on the last what?
you put on the other, on the same similar one, did you make a proposal, with them to,
Block the roof or something.
I'm not sure which application that was, Mr. Burke.
I'm not either.
okay, I don't remember the application, but
We've
you
had,
made quite a few
I don't recall, I'm sorry.
that I.
we've had several applications for dealerships that have to come in compliance with their national branding. I know, I think Infinity with Bullard and somebody over on Highway 90, we had to do the same thing.
So Mr. Chairman, move for,
Yes,
for approval
proceed.
subject to Mr. McCoy's order, it is approved by the staff.
Just obtaining of sign permits and electrical permits as appropriate.
Okay.
All right, I have a motion to approve subject to staff's recommendations. Any further discussion? A second?
Second.
I have a motion with a second. Any further discussion once again? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
I oppose. One opposed. The motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, application 6115, E-Parks and Andre R. Moore.
Good afternoon. I'm Andrea Moore, 102 Lavert Avenue, and I'm the homeowner.
Okay. and
We have read the staff report. We do agree with the
so you've
recommendation.
Seen the staff's recommendations, you're in agreement.
Yes.
All right. Any questions of the board for the applicant? All right. Anyone in the audience in favor of the application? Anyone in opposition? All right, staff recommends for approval. Chair, entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second?
I have a motion to approve with a second. Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're at the, I believe, the last application today. 6116, Ms. Bush for the Bush Tot spot on 1610 Union Street. Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience. You were the first one here, and you get to sit through all this. All right, yours is recommended for denial. You want to tell us why we ought to consider otherwise?
I think that you all should consider it because it would be a great place for a daycare. Because we need something like that in our neighborhood. We have to go so far. I live right across the street from the daycare, where it will be. And we need something because we have, our neighbors and everything have to go so far for childcare. And I think it would be a great asset for the community. I'm gonna not only take care of the children, but I will employ people from the neighborhood.
Okay. No, I could try to familiarize myself again. Your current home location, do you have childcare services there?
I had it before, but I had to move it from my home because my son had to have a dual transplant, and he had to come live with me. And as you know, children carry germs, and we couldn't afford that because, you know, it could cause rejection of the organs. So I had to move it out of my home, and I've been into a center for the last 3 years. And so now I want to come back to the neighborhood because, you know, I did so well in that neighborhood. It was an asset.
Okay. Well, I've looked at the pictures. I'm going to start off with questions first. It looks like you have ample room on the site, especially towards the rear for parking.
Yes, sir.
And also, I understand it's much more economical to put in a gravel lot versus a paved lot. Is there any reason why you can't do that?
No.
I mean, it sounds like I've seen, we've also, by the way, just as a matter of record, we've got several of the neighbors that are in agreement with you on your proposal.
Yes, sir.
So it looks like your proposal is well considered by the neighborhood. But probably the parking and the surface requirements, I have a hard time considering those. I'm not necessarily averse to the idea of you having the daycare there so much as that you have the room to actually accommodate the number of parking spaces. If you're going to have 7 stations, 11 is required, which doesn't seem unreasonable.
Okay.
The only other concern I have is the traffic, which would be from an access point for fire or emergency vehicles. You're at the end of a street from the way it reads.
Okay.
So, anyway, this is just my thoughts.
Okay.
Any other questions of the board for the applicant?
Yeah, I have one. Why would the staff say that it, within a residential area, that would be that would be a positive rather than a negative if you were going to put a daycare center there?
Well, it is in a primarily a residential area, and the staff is concerned about the increased traffic on a dead-end street.
How many children did you have at your home base before?
It was 18 because I operated around the clock 7 days a week. But, you know, the state will not allow you to have a lot of children in your home. Each shift, I was able to have 6 children, which was the max that they allowed. But I wanted more. I just couldn't have them.
And what will this facility accommodate?
It should accommodate up to 40 to 50 children.
But how many do you anticipate at a time?
Probably about 50,
Really? Okay.
because I'm gonna add a modular building on the site that will accommodate the existing building, and therefore, I should be able to be licensed for up to 50 kids.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just as a matter of consistency, can we refresh the board's memory on what we did in the same neighborhood just in the last 2 months, I believe, with the gentleman who built a building and wanted to put a an adult care facility?
Yes, sir. That was just across the street, a little bit further down. That was denied by the board as well. And also, I'd just like it to be noted that the fire department does cap home-based occupations at 3 children at a time.
Are there also code issues with the buildings themselves, since they're, it wouldn't be called assembly, I wouldn't think, but something similar?
Potentially, depending on the size of the structure and the number of children, building code and fire code may be requiring it to be sprinkled and that type of thing.
Okay, and the street's a dead-end street. How would the people coming to pick up their children, how would they turn around and leave?
That is a concern that staff has.
Is there no cul-de-sac?
But it would be ample enough room on the property for them to come into the parking area and park, get their child. No 3 parents come at the same time. Never. I have a daycare now, and we never experienced more than 3 parents coming at the same time. So I can't see, now that's me talking, and I'm not just saying this because it's me, but I can't see it being a traffic jam because they never come at the same time.
Okay. Well, if you will, let us continue asking the staff any questions we have before we'll proceed. And Mr. Metcalf hit on some good points, that the fire code may, because you're looking at an assembly, 50 or more is an assembly, having to do certain modifications to the building to make it accommodate, so it can accommodate 50.
Okay.
You know, you may be at some point, whether or not this is cost prohibitive for even a consideration of that property. But anyway, that's not our concern. We have to look at just what the building code, the codes require.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question for fire. If the parking area and drive is...
They're not here, Mr. Metcalf.
Oh, they're not here?
No, sir.
All right, because my question was going to be about the surface, because a surface has to be able to handle a fire truck.
Yes, sir, and typically fire code does request a 20-foot paved surface for their vehicles.
Yeah.
Correct. And a turnaround.
Depending on how far the structure is away from the fire hydrant. Right.
Right.
And look to the street.
Okay, any further questions of the applicant? All right, miss, if you'll have a seat for a second. Sir, are you in favor or in opposition?
Dig it in.
Your name and address, just for a matter of record. We appreciate you coming down here and waiting.
My name is Alan Reamer, 1101 Azalea Road with AR Design Works here in town. We helped Ms. Bush develop the plans. The reason for the crushed rock surface was to try and help her with her budget, but also water runoff. And we have not submitted plans. We're waiting outcome here before we submit plans to the city. But that was the intent. And I had called one of the questions raised was the fire department and the surface. And I had called Captain Allen to talk to him about it and have not had a chance to talk to him yet. Been playing phone tag. But turnaround, from the street to the backside of the modular building is less than 400 feet of hose run. So I don't know that the truck would have to be on the property in an emergency.
Right.
But that it is a commercial width driveway. And if we go to a concrete hard surface, concrete or asphalt, a truck could certainly pull in, but he would have to back out. There is no turnaround. There's no room for a turnaround on that piece of property.
Okay, and I believe a hydrant has to be 150 feet from the structure. I'm not sure, but I think it is. Okay. Any further questions of the board? All right, thank you, sir. All right, anyone else in the audience in favor or in opposition? You ladies in the back, are you here for this application? Are you here for this application? We're on the very last application, which is 6116. Betty Bush for the Bush Tot spot on 1610 Union Street? No? Okay. All right, I must have been absent when you had the last application, because I don't remember that one. For the same street or area?
I think it's the same street on the other side of the street, on the west side of the street.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
That was a case where the man built the building.
Yeah, he built it with the intention of having it operated as that, but permitted it and got a certificate of occupancy as a single-family residence.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Any further comments, questions of the board? Ms. Bush, if you'll come back to the podium for a minute. Does Mr. Coleman or Mr. Burris have a question?
I'm having trouble with the turnaround, you know, it seems to me though that even if this was not a daycare, they would have the same problem, but rather than pulling in, they would fight it from the street, rather than trying to get onto the property to fight it. And so that seems like we're creating a hardship for where a hardship really doesn't exist. I don't see that as a reason for denial.
You're talking about access for the fire truck?
Yeah.
There's a big difference in that the building, the modular building, is strictly for the daycare use. It is much further back on the property. The fire code, when there is an assembly type use, especially one for children, they have specific requirements with regard to the ability for them to access that building in an emergency situation, whereas it is different from that for a single-family residential structure.
So it's access to the building.
Access to the building, but in this particular case, because, and we don't know this for a fact because that information is not provided, the modular building is, in most likelihood, farther from the closest fire plug or fire hydrant than is allowed by code that would require the truck to come onto the private property and not function from within the right-of-way.
So if they were building a building, the construction would require a connection for the fire department.
An FDC, yes, sir, they may be required that.
Yeah,
Fire department.
that would satisfy the
It would satisfy it, yes, sir, but that's something we can't really answer because fire is not here.
Right, so, but it's access to the nearest fire hydrant and the ability to firefight in case of a fire.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to having the trickle, okay. Something that might want to consider.
Okay, any further questions, comments?
Uh,
I thought you had a question for the applicant, I apologize.
If
Mr.
I, if I may, I'm sorry, somebody wants, okay. Yeah, I'm not speaking in favor or against. I just want to remind you of the legal standard here. The applicant has to show a hardship to this property why this property cannot be used as an R1 single-family dwelling.
That was going to be my question.
She's asking for 6 variances. I've never seen an application, I don't think, with 6 different variances. And the argument or the position is that it's good for the neighborhood and the neighborhood needs it. If that's true, then this might be a better case for rezoning than a variance, because in a rezoning, one of the criteria you have to meet, or that you can meet that to satisfy the ordinance is a change in circumstances in the neighborhood, or if there's a need for that particular use in the neighborhood. So as far as the use variance, legally, I think rezoning would be better than a variance.
Ms. Bush, do you understand what Mr. Anderson said? The burden is on you to provide what the hardship, why this property can't be utilized, why it's currently zoned for. You know, as a residential, as a home, maybe a home-based business, but nothing more than that usually. And you said you're operating a daycare somewhere else, correct?
I am in Pritchard.
Okay. And we have to look at the hardship of this property. Each time we have an application, it's specific to the property. You could have something going on next to your proposed project, but we have to look at yours only.
Right.
So can you tell us why this couldn't be used as a home?
Well, it can't be used as a home because the children need this daycare. They really need it. Not only the children, the parents need this, and the community really needs it. I need it because I'm tired of paying everybody else rent. I am paying so much in rent where I am. As opposed, I already own this property. I'm trying to use it to benefit not only me, but, you know, the community and the neighboring communities, because I will operate around the clock, and we have some that say that they're open around the clock, but they're not truly open around the clock.
Ms. Bush, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Two questions. How long have you owned the property?
My brother owned it before I did, and he lost it because he came down with prostate cancer, and I repurchased it because it had meaning to us.
Okay, how long has it been since somebody lived in it?
It has been roughly about 7 or 8 years. No, you know, it just can't, you know, no one moves there and stay long because for whatever reason, they just don't. But I would like to take it and make something of it.
The homes that are adjacent, are they occupied?
Yes, sir.
It appears based on the community support.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it has a potential to be a residence, it's just, for whatever reason, has not been fully occupied.
Right.
Okay. All right, we're at a point, I think we need to conclude our discussion on this. Once again, I'll open it up. No one else in the audience is either in favor or in opposition at this point. If you'll have a seat, we'll conclude.
Mr. Chairman, a quick clarification, if I might, from to the applicant. Ma'am, from what you just said, I get the impression that the house has been rented occasionally over the past 6 or 7 years?
Mm-hmm. It
Okay.
hasn't been rented in the last 7 years. About 7
But
or
you
8
said,
years.
but people have been there, but they hadn't stayed there. So
Yeah.
what does that mean?
That was the last person that lived there was about 7 to 8 years ago.
Okay, so before that, so y'all have not tried to rent the property to anyone?
Well, my brother did, but it didn't work. You know, it had some issues. The house needed to be brought up to standard.
So it's not really it's not really in a condition right now where it could be
It
used?
cannot be rented out as is. I'm willing to take it
Okay,
and bring it up.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions of the applicant?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, to
Mr.
council,
Yes.
the recommendation and the strong recommendation is that this property be considered for rezoning this location. And it's clear that there's a demand for this type service in the community, but as it stands right now, according to what we have to look at,
Right.
it's not measuring up. So I guess my question to council is, how long does rezoning would take for it to be able to even be considered?
All the survey work's been done, and they got an application in this month, we're still looking at 120 days, 4 months.
Yeah. So we would be rational and
Whatever it
realistic.
takes, I'll just have to wait, but I want it ASAP, because I need to,
Yeah, we understand that. We're trying to be considerate, but
Yes, sir.
we've got to be consistent with all the other applicants, too.
I understand your position, and I respect that to the
And
highest.
as Mr. Anderson stated, it may be a better route for you to take it for a
Okay.
rezoning consideration.
Okay.
The question is, Mr. Anderson, if we vote on this today, and some of these things she may want to bring up for a variance at some future point, if she does get it rezoned, like the parking service and the number of spaces, would it be best to hold it over or just to go ahead and consider it at this point?
Any variance that is denied by the board has to wait 6 months before reapplying. So if,
What they deny the use variance and hold the other ones over for 6 months, or for 4 months?
I'm just trying to be considerate of the applicant, that's all.
Yeah, I mean,
or the applicant could withdraw.
That's what I was thinking.
Miss, if we vote on it today, you have to wait 6 months before you come to see us again. If for any reason you have to, whether it's the parking surface or the number of spaces. If you withdraw your application today, then we don't have to vote, and therefore you don't have that 6-month limitation.
Okay,
And then allow you to pursue the rezoning.
okay. And what is the procedure for that?
We'll defer you to the staff for that.
Okay,
But as far as withdrawing your application, all you have to do is make that statement today, and then we'll consider that sufficient.
okay.
So,
That's the best,
do you prefer to withdraw, or do you want us to go ahead and vote on it today?
If it's not going to be positive, I'll withdraw. But if it's positive, yes, I will accept
Well, I
it.
don't see, so far, I can't speak for my other board members, but I think you're better off going with a different route at this
and
point.
Mr.
So-
Guest?
Yes.
Sorry, if I may, one more thing, I'm sorry to interrupt. While Mr. Anderson is correct, it may seem like a more appropriate venue to go to the Planning Commission for a rezoning. There are other issues with this that would not necessarily meet the zoning ordinance and the Planning Commission's standards for a rezoning. I just want to make you all aware of that.
Yeah, but you'll still have to resolve those issues anyway.
Right.
Whether she comes
You know,
here
it's-
or,
It's not a guarantee that that rezoning would go through.
and we understand that, and I hope you
I
understand that. Okay. All right, so the burden's on you to prove the hardship of this property. Do you wish to pursue a vote today, or do you withdraw your application?
I withdraw.
Okay, you withdraw your application.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes.
a question for Doug. Is there anything legally that, can an applicant withdraw at any time before a vote starts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time, wish you well, but
Thank you.
work with staff for sorting out the details.
Thank you,
All
and I
right, thank
appreciate
you.
y'all time.
And for anyone that came, and sir, for coming down here today as well. All right, any other business for the board?
Yes, sir. We need to officially vote on the July meeting. We have it on the schedule as the July 3rd, which, as we all know, is the day before a holiday. So we need to have an official vote to move that to the following week on the 10th.
Okay, and I made the initial motion to move it to the 10th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? Okay, meeting scheduled for the 10th of July.
All right,
All
got
right,
it.
any further business? Mr. Anderson, do we have anything to bring before the board?
No, sir.
Okay, motion.
I've got several cases on appeal, I'm not sure if they're all, I think they might not be planning commission,
Doug, how about MW? The big,
On the service road,
what's going on there?
I think they're dead in the water. They have not made any further progress in
Well,
trying to
but-
come into
But they haven't
compliance.
they haven't
So
changed anything.
We'll probably be issuing them a ticket and getting them in court.
Mr. Anderson?
The variance, I think this was variance, not a planning, yeah, it was a variance appeal on the, what's the brewery? Haunt Blue, over, Hank Blue, over on Canal Street.
Yeah.
That's set for trial. The next door neighbor appealed that variance, and it's set for trial on July the 6th. So,
And they weren't even here, were they? The,
yep. The next door neighbor is a lawyer who has filed the appeal himself, and he was here, then had to go to probate court before, he wasn't going to, he already said he was not going to make any, he wasn't going to say anything at the hearing, he was just going to see what happened. But he was not here for the vote.
And who is that?
Actually, his parents own it, and he lives there. He's from, he just moved here, I can't remember his name, to be honest with you.
Okay. All right, any other business? Motion we adjourn? All right, have a good afternoon, everyone.